Fable is a game where your choices matter, or so the game developers wanted them to. But something that does matter is the weapons you use. A legendary sword from a stone? Epic. A bow from sacrificing people to the Dark Lord Scorm? Phenomenal. A stick from the Guildmaster? Well, not so good. Can you beat Fable using the stick as your only weapon? Let's go over the rules. Rule 1. The only weapon I can use is the stick. No bows or other melee weapons. 2. I allowed the use of willpowers as long as they did not damage the enemies magically. An example, I can't use Firebow or the lightning spell, but slow time and multi-strike are allowed because one slows time, and the other just makes the stick hit more than once, which is a physical use of a spell, and without it, I don't think late game would be possible. Rule number 3. Not really a rule, but I used Physical Shield almost the whole game, which protects your body from damage by draining the will bar instead of your health. And while I could have done this challenge easily without it, I haven't died playing Fable in like 8 or 9 years, and I'm gonna take that streak to my grave, I swear to God. Are you ready? Let's go. We started the game as a child and are tasked with collecting enough gold by doing good deeds to buy my sister a birthday present. So it's time to get to work. I decided that I was going to do a good playthrough this time around, so it's time to help the people of Oakvale with their problems. First is this girl who wants us to find her teddy bear, and I put that on the sideline for now. The second person is cheating on his wife and thinks he can bribe me with gold to not tell her, so I refuse the gold and tell her anyways. The next person wants me to watch his stock of goods while he uses the crapper, so I oblige, even though this little runt won't shut the hell up about smashing the barrels. Finally, I approach a bully who was picking on a little boy and beat the crap out of him without even asking. He gave me the teddy bear I needed, and the little boy thanked me. I took the bear back to the girl, and that was the final good deed I needed to do. Back to Daddy gives me 3 gold for my good deeds, and I buy some chocolates from a trader who was in town. Then I give them to my sister, and Oakvale, my hometown, gets attacked by bandits. Oh no. I survived by hiding behind a very easy to see through fence. After a cutscene, I'm placed back in my town, but it's definitely a little hotter this time around. A short walk leads me to the corpse of my father, and then I'm almost attacked by a bandit, but lucky for me, a man with lightning saves me. His name is Maze, and he's just the coolest. He offers to teleport me to the guild, and I agree. After the teleportation, I puke a bit and get a little feisty. Maze tells me he brought me here to become a hero, so I guess that's what I'm gonna do. After I get done crying in my sleep like a wuss, Whisper, a new guild trainee, wakes me up because we're late to training. Instead of going straight to training, I pick up 4 cooking apples and bring them to a woman who needs to make the guildmaster a pie, and she gives me a blueberry pie in return. Don't worry, we'll use it later. Now for some training. The guildmaster makes me punch the crap out of a dummy until he realizes that I'm a weak boy, and gives me the stick. It's pretty bad for the most part. Even against this dummy, I'm already worried about how much of a pain this challenge is going to be. After I break the dummy into nothing, the guildmaster tasks me with killing the beetles in the woods, so I'm off. This is incredibly easy as I'm still in the tutorial and I make short work of the beetles and grow up into a teenager. Now it's time for some real training. Back at the melee weapon arena, the guildmaster gives me a sword, and I promise I tried using the stick, but it doesn't count, so I guess I have to use the sword. This was fine by me as it was still the tutorial and had no effect on the actual game later on. After I kick the crap out of Whisper, I have to go to the archery range and learn how to shoot a bow, but they're just target dummies, so no harm done. Next, I have to learn the ways of the will, and I am tasked with shooting lightning at a bunch of straw dummies. They really don't want me to use the stick very often in this tutorial, do they? I finished the will training with 24 lightning strikes. Now I can become a full-fledged adult. There's only one task left in my training, and that's to beat the crap out of Maze with all of the skills I've acquired. I tried once again to use the stick here to no avail, and was forced to use my sword, my bow, and my lightning. Stupid tutorial not letting me use a stick. After knocking Maze around for a while, I'm told I have graduated and can finally leave the guild. And from here on out, there are no more tutorials requiring me to use bows or magic, so now the challenge can actually start. Before I leave the guild, I am given some general experience to level up a stat, and I chose physique so the stick would do a bit more damage. Now it's time for our first real quest, killing the Wasp Queen. This should be a proper test of the stick's melee prowess, so let's see what happens. I make my way into Lookout Point and get greeted by a hysterical man shouting about wasps. Sounds like me when there's a wasp in my house. I follow him to the picnic area and get ready for a fight. The stick is still very effective against normal wasps, and as soon as I kill the wasps in the area, the queen rears her head. She launches more wasps at me, but apparently they are no match for my weapons. I ran in to attack the wasp queen, and I am very surprised at how easy this fight is with the stick. I mean, it is the first real quest, but that was way too easy. Oh well, I guess I'll see how it handles bandits in the next quest. For now, Maze is looking for me at Bowerstone Tavern, so I make my way there and make sure to buy a spade and a fishing pole for later. I ignore Maze in favor of a little bit of gambling in the tavern, and by a little bit, I mean so much gambling that I can now afford the best suit of armor that I can buy in the whole game. There is another suit of armor later on in the game that's better, but I would need to spend like 25 silver keys to get it, and I don't feel like putting any effort. After buying some plate mail armor and a chainmail helmet, I finally conversed with Maze, and he tells me that my sister might have survived the bandit raid in my hometown, and still tells me to get some better gear even though I'm decked out. What an ass. Back at the guild, I take the next quest to protect Orchard Farm from bandits, and level up my physique again. On the way to Orchard Farm, I fought a bunch of wasps, and that was it. Once I reached Orchard Farm, I was greeted by a guard who was going to help me defend the farm, and then the bandits attacked. They came in 3 different waves, and I was supposed to make sure they didn't steal any of the boxes sitting in the barn, and make sure I did. After disposing of all the bandits, my old nemesis Whisper from my training days showed up and challenged me to a battle. This was pretty easy, and I hope Whisper is ashamed she got the crap beat out of her with a stick. Now it's straight back to the guild for another quest. This time I have to escort some traders to Barrow Fields through Darkwood, which I have been told is a dangerous place. I made sure to level up my physique again, and my health as well. On my way to Darkwood, I fought some more wasps, a couple of bandits, and a whole bandit camp as well. Right now, the game was still pretty easy with the stick, but I knew that was bound to change eventually. When I made it to the entrance to Darkwood, I fought a couple of hobs, and decided that it would be a good idea to go back to the guild and acquire the physical shield spell and a bigger mana bar. I also leveled up my toughness and my health. Back to the entrance to Darkwood, I started the quest and made my way through the dark and dank area. I found an injured trader, and since I knew what would happen if I let him follow me without making it to Barrow Fields fast enough, I told him to shove off, and kept going. The first challenging enemy in the game is a Balverine. They're kind of like werewolves, and they take way less damage than normal. 9 to be exact, which is horrible. I eventually kill it and keep going. The next area is filled with bandits that attack at the most inopportune times, and I actually almost lose the quest because one of the traders was very close to death. It's a lot harder to protect these guys without a good weapon. At least the next area I went into let the traders rest for a moment and heal up. More bandits and hobs in the next area, but they didn't really attack the traders, so it was pretty easy. The last obstacle I had to get through was an earth troll, and these trolls are always so easy. Let's play baseball. After I hit all of the dirt boulders back at the troll, we left Darkwood and I completed the quest. Now I can visit my hometown, which is right next to Barrow Fields. I meet up with Maze in the tavern here as well, and he tells me that a blind seeress in a bandit camp not far from here might be able to tell me where my sister is, so I head back to the guild to prepare. I leveled up my speed skill 3 times for faster melee swing speed, and my health 1 more time as well. I take a little bit of time collecting some Ages of Skill potions for later, then I make my way to the abandoned road. These bandits are still pretty easy to deal with, except when they see me, they shut the gates to the next area, so I have to kill them and then hide behind this rock and wait for the next group to walk past me so I can enter the next area. Now is when the game takes a turn. These bandits are much harder to kill than the last ones, and now it's all about making sure that I can kill them before I run out of potions. While I'm killing them, I also have to collect pieces of the bandit outfit so they'll let me into the main camp, and after a lot of potions and splinters, I finally arrived. They let me in the camp, and if I wanted to get into the elite camp, I was going to need a pass. I just buy one from this shady guy and continue onwards. If I want to get into Twinblade's tent, however, I'll need to cause a distraction. So I kill this bandit who has the key to these ladies' cell, and I let them free. It causes enough of a distraction to net me access to his tent. Now it's time for a boss fight against Twinblade, the bandit chief. The only way to damage him is to hit him in the back, and usually this is a pretty easy boss fight, but oh my god, with a stick it takes so long. For the most part, the only time you can attack him is when he does this attack that plunges his blades into the ground. And the only time he does that is after a few other attacks, and then when he actually does do it, you can only hit him twice. Over and over and over again. It took a very long time, but I eventually gave his back enough splinters to bring down an elephant. I was about to decapitate him with my stick, and I was greeted by my sister, who was the blind seeress all along. After a cutscene plays, she talks for a bit, and then she gives me some experience, and now I have to decide whether or not I'm going to kill Twinblade for real, or let him live. Since I was good and I didn't want to have to fight him and all of his bandits at once with my stick, I let him live and left for the guild, completing the quest. At the guild, I leveled up my physique again, and leveled up my physical shield and my magic power. For the next quest, I had to go to Maze's room and talk to him. He wanted me to find his old friend, the archaeologist, in the Witchwood area, so I was off. Before that though, I stopped at every single area that sold potions and made sure to buy as many as I could. Witchwood is another dark, gloomy area, and it's normally infested with Balverines or bandits, but for this quest the only enemy I have to fight is a rock troll. And once again, trolls are way too easy if you hit their boulders back at them. So this quest is a little more fleshed out than this. You're supposed to figure out what the demon door's name is and then hit it out in these stones, but since I know his name by heart, I just hit the stones and make my way inside to find the archaeologist. He's not happy I found him and leaves, but at least I finished the quest. Back at the guild, I level up my speed stat and take the quest to kill the white Balverin that has been troubling the village of Knothole Glade for a while, so it's back to Witchwood. Now there's Balverines swarming the area, and they're still really tough to deal with. Not only do they take way less damage than they should, they also like to jump up into the air for a while so you can't hit them. Fun. There are also some incredibly difficult to kill bandits as well, and now's about the time where every enemy that you fight decides to block every other attack you attempt. After I kill the bandits, I make my way to Knothole Glade and immediately get ambushed by the white Balverin. I only have to hit him a few times before it skips to the next part where I have to walk to the north end of the town and hit the white Balverin 10 more times. Then a lady comes out of her house and informs me that the white Balverin used to be her husband and hands me a silver weapon augmentation that doesn't help me at all since I can't augment my stick. The white Balverin attacks again, but this time I only have to hit him 5 times, and apparently by just having the augmentation in my inventory, I'm able to do a little damage to him. I don't get this game. Now it's time to actually fight the white Balverin, and I can't state enough how much this fight sucked. Yeah, I could stun lock him with my stick and do all of 6 damage to him while he hit me every so often, but that wasn't the hard part. After a while, he decides to call in some normal Balverins to fight, and now I have to kill them as well as him. I could have left them alone and just kept fighting the white Balverin, but I was afraid I might use all of my potions before the fight was over, so I kept killing the Balverins he spawned and kept whacking the crap out of him with my stick. And after many minutes of torture, he finally fell and I took his head as proof that I killed him. Back at Knothole Glade, I showed the chief of the town and was nominated for the arena. At the guild, I grabbed the quest card for the arena and leveled up my health once and my toughness twice. I also stopped at every place I could buy potions from again and made my way to the arena. Now, I don't want to spend a bunch of time on the arena as it took me like an hour and a half to beat, so I'll try to give you the Cliff Notes version. The first enemies I had to fight were wasps, and I absolutely destroyed them with a stick. The next group of enemies were the hobs, and they were also pretty easy to defeat. Now Whisper joined me in the arena, and the next set of enemies we have to fight are the Balverines. I don't think I have to talk about how bad this was, as the last 2 waves had white Balverins in them as well as normal Balverins. Such fun. After 20 minutes of Balverin slaying, the next group of enemies are the Hollow Men, aka the Undead. I know that they're not called Hollow Men in the first Fable, but I don't care. Pretty easy as they move quite slowly, and we're on to the bandits next. This part takes just as long as the Balverins, considering they block almost all of my attacks and have high health, but I get there eventually. Now it's time to fight some earth trolls, easy. Then it's time to fight some rock trolls, also easy. The last real enemy of the arena is a giant scorpion, and while it takes me a while to kill it, it's also pretty easy to memorize his attack patterns. I killed it, and now it was time for the last arena event, fighting Whisper. This fight is kinda difficult because she moves way faster than I do, but after I whack her with my stick enough times, I win the fight and leave the arena without killing Whisper because that would be mean. Now I walk through the Hall of Heroes where they will erect a statue of me in my honor, and the guard points out that I fight like one of the old champions, Scarlet Robe. I took a peek at the statue, and wouldn't you know it, she was my mother. Now we get introduced to Jack of Blades, the main antagonist of the game, and I'm gonna stop for a second and gush. I absolutely love Jack of Blades. He is my favorite villain in any game ever. His design is so freaking cool, and his voice is just great to listen to. Okay, enough of that, back to the challenge. He tells me that I'm very much like my mother, and that she's still alive, and that he'd love to reunite me and my sister with her. I wasn't buying it and left the arena. Now I have to meet up with my sister Teresa at the Grey House, but before I do that, I stop at the guild and level up my physique twice, my health once, my speed twice, guile 4 times for better prices at the shops, physical shield once, magic power twice, and then my health 1 more time for good measure. I'm an absolute beefcake now. Time to meet up with my sister. She tells me that Jack of Blades was the man who cut out her eyes and burned down our village, just to try and capture us because we have a special bloodline. She also says that I have to rescue our mother from Bargate Prison, where Jack is holding her prisoner. But no one knows how to get there, except for our old friend the archaeologist, who is also on his way to the prison. So it's my task to save him, but first let's make a quick potion buying trip so I'm prepared. When I start the quest for real is when I remember something that's about to make this part unbearable to do. The main enemy I have to kill here are Jack's minions, and they are pretty hard to kill, like really hard to kill. No problem, except for the last part of the mission where there is a 5-minute timer in which I have to kill a lot of minions. I'd say around 16 to 18 of them, and there was just no way. I killed some of them, but by the time I made it to the dock to save the archaeologist, there were so many left, and not nearly enough time to kill them all. Now, since I'm not one to take failure lightly, I quit the quest before I actually failed it, and knew what I must do to beat the quest. A lot of grinding. My first stop was in Greatwood, where I killed a bunch of bandits for general experience, and so I could turn my physical shield on and off a bunch because the higher your combat multiplier is, the more experience you get from things, and I was able to get a solid chunk of will experience by doing this. I returned to the guild and bought the multi-strike spell, which allows my stick to hit more than once per hit at the cost of a little less damage than normal. I knew that if I stood any chance of beating the next quest, I would have to max it out. I spent the next hour killing bandits and other creatures and casting physical shield, and I was finally able to level it up to the max level it could be. 5 hits per actual hit. Time to try the quest again. I kill all of the minions in the not timed portion of the quest and make my way to the difficult part. It was looking good for a bit, but there was still no way I was going to be able to finish the quest in time. So now it's more grinding, this time for the Berserk spell, which makes my melee attacks do more damage, and that stacks with multi-hit, so I was really hoping after this I would be able to do the quest. So I went back to Witchwood and killed a few bandits, and then came back to the guild and leveled up Berserk to level 2. I also leveled up the healing spell so I could try and keep the guards that were helping me through the quest alive, and it was time to try again. I kept almost all of the guards alive throughout the whole quest, and when we made it to the end, I was hoping it was worth it, but it was definitely not. They sucked massively. I wasn't much better. While Berserk makes you do more damage, it also knocks the target you hit down, and it takes a second for them to get back up. This was the closest I came to finishing the quest so far, and I was still miles off. I had no idea what to do, so I just grinded some experience to max up my speed stat, and to level up my Berserk one more time. Then I saw it. Slow time. I wondered if this spell would slow the timer in-game, so I made it my goal to find out. I went to Hob Cave, which is a really great place to grind for experience, and just kept running back and forth through the cave until I was sure I had enough experience to max out slow time. I guess it's time to see what happens. If I can't finish the quest like this, I may have to forfeit the challenge. I just run past all of the minions in the early parts of the quest and make my way to the timed segment, and I'll be damned, the timer does slow down. I did all of this hard work grinding other skills and spells when I could have just grinded the one, but that's okay. These skills will help me out a bunch later. After what I presume was way more than a few minutes, I finished the quest with plenty of time to spare, and rescued the archaeologist. Finally. He tells me that the path to Bargate Prison is hidden in an old graveyard, so that's where I was off to next. I made sure to do a potion buying run before I started the quest, then I made my way to the graveyard. Here I am tasked with collecting the old dead gravekeeper's armor so I can pass through the demon door to the prison, all while being attacked by a bunch of hollow men. I barely killed any of the hollow men as I really didn't need any more experience, and just collected all of the armor I needed by fishing and digging them up. Now I can pass through the door and ignore more hollow men until I get to the last part where I actually have to fight a bunch of them in this circle. If they aren't in the circle, I can't damage them. It was pretty easy since they were incredibly slow, and I was able to unlock the last door that led to the prison. On the path to the prison, there were more hollow men, and I actually had to kill a bunch of them to get this door open, and I finally made it to the prison, which was being protected by guards, and they were tough. I ran away, which would cause some problems later, and I finally made it to the torture chamber, where my mother was being held. I freed her and had to go back the way I came, which now had all of the guards I skipped over in one small area. Thank God for slow time and multi-hit. I eventually made it out of the passageway and was about to leave when I was captured by Jack of Blades and his minions. Now in prison, I was told that the prisoners would race each other and the winner would get a prize. I always thought this was a bit unfair since I was a powerful hero and these guys were wasting away in their cells, but oh well. I won the race rather easily and was taken into the warden's office for my reward, a reading from his latest poem. While he was reciting it, I was able to sneak over to the bulletin board and take a peek at the combo for his locked book, and opened it hoping for the key, but you can never get the key in your first attempt, and I was promptly taken to the torture chamber where terrible things happen to me presumably. A year passes and we have to race again. I beat everyone and get to hear more poetry. I acquire the new book combo and open it to find the cell key. Now I can escape from the prison, but I was weaponless. At least there's a stick in this barrel over here. The one time it's actually useful. The guards spotted me and the other freed prisoners rather quickly, and I had to run to avoid taking damage. I ran into the building containing my stolen equipment and put my armor back on. Now it's time to rescue my mother again. She's once again in the torture chamber, and we do the same thing as last time. Kill a bunch of guards, and leave. We don't get captured by Jack this time, but I do have to fight a kraken. Normally in this fight, you attack the tentacles to bring the kraken up from the water and then shoot the kraken with your bow, but since I'm using the stick, I had to wait until the kraken brought his head close enough for me to hit him. This took a while, especially considering in his second phase he doesn't keep his head very close to the edge, but I eventually put the beast down and Mother and I could leave. She granted me a bunch of general experience before she left, and I made my way back to the guild. At the guild, I was tasked with gaining access to the Hook Coast Cullis Gate, which meant I had to go to Darkwood and power up the Cullis Gate there first. The only way to power the gate is by killing a bunch of undead near it, and I thought this wouldn't be too bad, but about 3/4 of the way through, I realized the bar wasn't going up anymore. It was actually going down. I guess this was a timed segment too, so I had to use slow time to be able to kill the undead fast enough to open the Cullis Gate. In Hook Coast, I went to the local graveyard and there was a barrier surrounding it, and I was told by the guildmaster that if I wanted to go through, I'd have to find a book, and it would seem my mother found a copy of it in the guild, and I was to collect it from her. She was being kidnapped by Jack's minions, but at least they didn't get the book. I took it to the guildmaster, and he said to go back to Hook Coast, and he would read it over the guild seal so the barrier would open. So back to Hook Coast. It was being attacked by screamers, a form of ghost that can steal your health directly from you. They are quite easy to kill, and I make my way to the graveyard, and the guildmaster opens the barrier for me. Maze is waiting there with my sister and tries to make up a reason why he's there, but before he can, Jack of Blades steps in and stuns me. This allows Maze to finish his spell, and Jack is able to take the key, which will allow him to get the Sword of Aeons. Maze was a traitor, and he needed to be dealt with quickly, or Jack would be able to get his hands on the Sword of Aeons using the key, which would make him practically immortal. This fight was a pain in the ass, as Maze also didn't want to die and was using a physical shield. Now I had to do enough damage to his shield before I could actually damage him, and on top of that he could take my own shield down in 2 hits. After I do enough damage to him, he teleports away, and this continues the whole fight. Stick and staff collided. Magic rained down on me, and splinters were starting to cause infections, but I eventually beat Maze to the ground. This part always makes me a little sad, as Maze didn't want to help Jack of Blades, and actually attempts to acquire Avo's Tear, a sword that would have been able to rival the Sword of Aeons, but wasn't able to. He tells me to stop Jack and fades into dust. Now it's time for Jack to lead me on a wild goose chase all around Albion while he activates the focus sites to gain access to the sword. Nothing I can do at this part stops him from activating the stones, which really makes it set that this boss fight with Jack is going to be a fun one. At the last focus site, Jack has my mother in his grasp and they teleport to the Heroes Guild. I followed, and when I arrived, Jack had destroyed the guild. The guildmaster tells me to go to the chamber and finish Jack off once and for all. In the chamber, Jack kills my mother and acquires the sword, but it's not as powerful as it could be, which gives me the chance to stop him. Oh man, this was such a fun fight. Jack starts by summoning his minions, and I have to kill them first before he'll attack. I can only hit Jack a few times before he dashes away and casts some magic at me, which I can say definitely hurts. It goes on like this for a while until I bring his health down low enough to start the second phase of the fight, where he starts floating in the air and is unreachable to hit, or so I thought. Berserk saves the day, as it makes me slightly taller, and occasionally, I can hit the tip of Jack's boot with my stick, and I was able to kill Jack of Blades with my stick. Awesome. I had no idea you could do this fight melee only. Now I am given a choice: throw the sword into the void, destroying it forever, or kill my sister and keep the sword to myself. I chose to destroy the sword and watched a cutscene. Now we're getting into the Lost Chapters portion of the game, which was the DLC they added later so the game would be more fleshed out. I'll try to keep it pretty short because the video is getting kinda long. A year passes since Jack was destroyed and everything is all good, except for the fact that the Northern Wastes were being plagued by summoners, a very old and powerful creature. I was tasked with going to the Northern Wastes and stopping them. First, I decided to buy some potions, and I also wanted to put Jack's mask on my house wall since I thought it would make a great decoration. But when I put it on the wall, it disappeared completely. It wasn't on the wall, it wasn't in my inventory, so I guess I just lost Jack of Blades' mask, which is really funny to me. The first task was to acquire the Fireheart right next to the guild, and this was just a puzzle minigame that I beat fairly quickly. Now I had to go to Hook Coast and place the Fireheart in the lighthouse, but I was attacked by minions and summoners. The summoners did a lot of damage, but they were also pretty easy to kill. I won the battle easily and sailed on the ghost ship to the Northern Wastes. When I arrived, I found a really cool helmet and made my way to Snowspire Village. Scythe, an old and powerful hero, told me that I needed to awaken the oracles and that I have to find their specific tablets that were lost in the necropolis. This part was also pretty easy as I lucked out and dug up the slates I needed pretty fast, and before I knew it I had all 4 slates. I did the YMCA for a bit and was off to Archon's Shrine to talk to Briar Rose. Apparently Jack of Blades didn't die, and I had to open the golden gates and finish him off once and for all. This would require me to gather 3 different souls, and the first one was the soul of an arena champion, so that means I'm off to the arena to gather one. The arena is absolutely riddled with summoners, and then I have to fight a twisted version of the arena with Jack of Blades as the host, and I just love that. Aside from the amount of time this took me, it was easy. My stick was legendary at this point, and everyone feared it. I took the soul in Jack's mask that I apparently found in my pocket, I guess, and took it to the shrine. Now I have to take the soul of a great female hero, and I chose to ask my dead mother if I could have her soul. She obliged, but first I had to kill a crap ton of screamers. This took a long time, even with the slow time spell, but I eventually killed enough and stole my mother's soul for the gate. Now I had to collect the soul of the oldest hero, and that meant I could either kill the guildmaster or kill Nostro, the gravekeeper from earlier. As much as I wanted to kill the guildmaster, I was playing a good hero and decided to take Nostro's soul. This fight was very much like the fight I had to do to gain access to the prison. Nostro would only take damage after I killed some of his minions. The other half of the time he was ethereal. After some work, I was able to kill him and took his soul to the door. Now it's time for the actual final fight against Jack. With the gate open, I was greeted by fire and lava. Jack of Blades was now a dragon, and I had to fight him with my stick. Lord save me, this fight was actually extremely difficult. He could one-shot my shield and still be able to do some health damage to me. My stick did practically nothing, and every so often Jack would summon in some minions or a summoner. I also ate my blueberry pie from the beginning of the game here, which is my tradition. Many close calls happened where I thought I would lose my streak of not dying, but in the end the stick proved too much for Jack to handle, and I defeated him for real this time. All I had to do was throw the mask in the lava and destroy him for good.
Can you hear me? It is vital you cast the mask away. And the world will bow at your feet. Listen to me. Destroy the mask now. Wear me, and you shall be immortal. Destroy it!
I told you I could not be killed so easily, hero.
And I beat Fable using the stick as my only weapon. This was incredibly fun for me. Being able to play my most played game of all time with a twist I would have never normally done was incredibly fulfilling. And if you like Fable as much as I do, please do this challenge. You will not regret it. Also, if you enjoyed today's video, think about subscribing as that helps me out bunches. Make sure to check out the Discord and the Twitch, the links are in the description. And until next time, stay safe out there, and peace out.